This photo could sell for $1,000. In order to capture more amazing moments, the man began wandering between canyons, but before he could find a place to step, he suddenly fell down. His arm got tightly wedged between the rocks. More than pain, what he first felt was shock. Winning the lottery wouldn't even be this lucky. Soon the pain turned into numbness. He looked up at the sky. There was no one else, just him. Might as well try something first. He twisted his body to adjust his position and pulled back with all his strength, but it was no use. Then he tried lifting the rock above. Even using every ounce of his strength, it didn't budge. He slammed himself against the rock, kicked it hard, but it was like it had been cemented in place, not even the slightest movement. After struggling with the rock for dozens of minutes, he finally gave up. Next step, calling for help. But unfortunately, this was a barren wilderness with no tourists in sight. His only companion had gone off to explore another route. To make things worse, he didn't even bring his phone. Even if he had, there was no signal here. His voice grew hoarse from shouting. Eventually he calmed down. If he wanted to get out of here, he'd have to rescue himself. But how could he do that with one arm stuck? He took out all the supplies he had: a watch, a bottle of water, sunglasses, a camera, a knife, and a coil of nylon rope. Now it was time to assess usefulness. Water was essential, but he only had half a bottle. The knife was his best option for now. He began striking the rock rapidly, but the rock was far too hard. After just half an hour, his arm began to ache from exhaustion, but he had no choice but to keep going. Then suddenly, his hand lost strength. The knife slipped and dropped into the crack below. He tried picking it up with his toes, but it was just out of reach. He found a tree branch. It wasn't curved, didn't work, so he snapped the tip off and shaped it into a hook. Finally, he managed to hook the knife back, but his toes weren't agile enough, so he slowly reached down to grab it with his hand. Thankfully, nothing went wrong. But his fingers, after being crushed for so long, had gone numb. The knife had also become dull. Still, he didn't stop. If chiseling didn't work, then he'd try cutting, but the rock was harder than he imagined. By midnight, he was unbearably thirsty. The fizzing sound of bubbles in the water bottle kept tempting him. He couldn't resist any longer. He took a tiny sip, let it sit in his mouth for a while, then slowly swallowed it. This was his reward for surviving the first day.